Most of us know that we should electrify our homes, heat pumps, solar, maybe an EV. But when you actually sit down and try to figure out where to start, what to do first, what it'll cost, what the payback looks like, it can get a bit overwhelming. So, what if there was a tool that could take your specific home, your specific energy use, and tell you exactly what upgrades would save you the most, and then connect you with someone who could actually do those upgrades for you? Well, that tool exists. It was built here in New Zealand, and today I'm talking to the man behind it. Ben Gleisner is the founder and CEO of COGO, a Wellington company on a mission to make climate action easy and affordable for everyday New Zealand households and businesses. Ben started out as an economist at the New Zealand Treasury and then co-founded Conscious Consumers, a platform that helped people align their spending with their values. That became COGO, and today COGO partners with some of New Zealand's biggest banks, ASB and Westpac, for example, as well as energy retailers and insurers to help their customers make smarter home energy decisions. What I love about Ben, though, is that he's not just building the tech, he's living it. He's been on his own home electrification journey, and today he's going to share a little about that. He's going to walk us through a live demo of the COGO tool, and he's going to tell us where he thinks New Zealand households are headed. Kia ora, Ben. Thanks for joining me this morning.
All good,
Um,
Carolyn. Nice to be here. Got my cup of tea ready to go.
I think I've left my water inside. Anyway, I really just wanted to be able to share a little bit about your journey with COGO, and can you tell us about how COGO kind of started
All good.
and what really drives you to do this kind of work?
Totally can. So I was working at the Treasury, so I did my master's thinking about how many decades ago that was, but at least two on environmental economics. I was always passionate about doing something that was going to make the world better, and worked at the Treasury here in New Zealand for 7 years on environmental and energy policies mostly, and decided after 7 years of that, I was like, we're not really moving the dial on these things enough. So I decided to quit that day job and set up the predecessor to COGO, which was called Conscious Consumers. And that was all about how do we give people information about the way that they were impacting the world and hopefully nudge them to do things maybe more aligning their spending and values was the original idea. We then added things like how much were you spending in living wage businesses and went to the UK to launch there. And then we started to drop in the carbon sort of element as the core proposition. So the app we launched in the UK was connect all your banking information and we'll be able to tell you your carbon footprint and then give you things to do about reducing it. Like about 50, 60,000 people signed up. And then, yeah, we signed up some of the big banks, and NatWest was one of our first big ones. And they got about 60,000 people in the first week or something. So, we were 1.5 million now users just in that one bank. But yeah, COGO's been for a long time. How do we drive, reductions in carbon from a sort of like climate conscious customer or user? But in the last few years, yeah, we'll talk more about it. But we've decided to say, look, people do care about climate, but not as much as we'd hope and not as much as they used to. And the current world is more focused on cost of living and independence and things like that. And, so long story short, we've really launched a new product that's still about climate as a goal, but with a slightly different, let's say, cover or a proposition from a user perspective. Yeah.
That's cool. I think I've been through the similar career journey of myself of
Yeah.
not feeling like you're making a difference to being able to work with big organizations where you can hit those numbers. It's quite an amazing feeling, isn't it? But the world's changing, so I guess we're adapting
Yeah, yeah.
to
I think
fit
that's
with what works for people in the current
yeah.
world, aren't we?
It is. You can still, it's still important to have that mission front of mind, and the business is always very mission driven. But you just at some point have to realize, you have to change we've built so many different products, probably seven like unique products over the years, all with different angles and different rationales. But they, like any business, you sort of try things out and see what works and doesn't, and have to sort of go with the times. And the current times are people not jumping and running around saying we've got to solve climate change. They're mostly jumping and running around saying they, yeah, want to save money and they want to have an energy independence or whatever you want to frame it as. And so that's what our new product's built around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think when you see your power bill's gone up by at least 20% in the
yes,
last 5 years and it's heading up again,
yes.
yeah, it does hurt.
And then you see the sort of instability of the supply chains that we rely on so much for some of the parts of our supply, fuel supply, namely fossil fuels. It definitely has made people a bit more like, maybe I should be more resilient and more, independent in the way that I sort of make fuel or at least rely on, less of the sort of uncertain supply chain. So yeah, there's a whole interesting world we live in right now. Um, who would have thought Donald Trump would have sort of, stimulated a big surge of EV buying? But anyway, that's
Yeah,
good.
the poster
Good.
child for electrification is not who we expected, is it?
No, it is not. It is not.
So tell us about the new home electrification tool that you've
Sure.
designed and maybe tell us a bit about it. And then if you're happy to give us a little bit of a
Can
drive
I?
through, that would be
No
amazing.
worries. Yeah, I'll do a drive through. I'll do probably the home one. We've got to upgrade your car journey as well, but no pun on the drive. But yes, I will do a little demo. But yeah, the it started actually about 18 months ago. We're at actually a Singapore fintech festival, and we already had Westpac Australia as a client on our measure the carbon footprint in the banking app product. But they were like, look, we're really interested in this home energy space. Australia's got, obviously lots of people that do put solar, and they were just interested in how do we stimulate more awareness and opportunities to engage our client base. That's retail, so homeowner, car owner type customers of the bank. So we started conversations there and ended up launching a pilot sort of about a year or so ago now, with Westpac in Australia. That went really well. And then about 6 or so months ago, maybe a bit longer now, we launched with ASB here in New Zealand, and we've also launched with Genesis. And basically the idea is, yeah, people do see these rising costs on energy, and they are like, you know, cost of living pressured, as we just mentioned. So people are a little bit like, where can I look to save some money? And the reality is doing things like putting solar on the roof and getting into electric cars, if there are any left. They are good economic, rationally, solid decisions now, more and more because of the efficiency of the product. Um, but really, I'll underline the COGO's electrification platform is we just want to make sure that the next decision you make on a machine in your house is not a fossil fuel powered one. That's probably pretty similar to the rewiring Aotearoa sort of pitch, which is like that needs to be drummed in and drummed into people that when you are going to make that decision, we need to give them all the information, get them all ready to go, so that when they do suddenly have the gas caliphant break or the car break down, they don't just go and replace like for like. And so that's the goal of the platform is to be that one-stop shop to help New Zealanders and about to launch in the UK and Australians, whatever, help them make that decision and make the transaction cost of that decision very low. So yeah, it basically is probably 6 or 7 focus areas in terms of machines. So it's how you heat your home, how you heat your hot water, putting solar panels on the roof, a battery if you want it into the home, induction cooking, and then electric cars and EV chargers. So they're the things that if we can do all those things, and I've just finished doing all of those things in my house here, you have a lower bill. You definitely have a lower carbon footprint. Like mine's gone down on that part of my side of my life by about 90% on the back of all these changes.
90% is pretty amazing.
90%, not like if you count all my other things that I do, like buying stuff, it's not included, but just the energy related and transport related emissions. Um, yeah, I mean the petrol's the key one. Like we're just not burning any petrol anymore, and that's coming off the roof now as solar power into the car and driving around on sunshine. Anyway, back to the platform. It's yeah, that sort of one-stop shop. So I'll do a little demo of the home upgrade journey, and you can see how it looks.
Yep.
And people are welcome to jump on. There's a free version about to launch, so you'll soon be able to jump onto your computer or your phone and have a go yourself. But I'll run you through what it does. So yeah, as I said, you can upgrade your home or look to find another car. So it's both home and car journey. Starting with the home journey, we partner with CoreLogic. So we're trying to make this like a 2 or 3 minute exercise as a first thing. So I put an address in and it will pull information on that property. So the size of the house, the type of house, the number of people living there, and underlying these sorts of assumptions on how much you can save in your energy bills is the ECA model that they did. They did a residential baseline survey of homes to figure out what type of homes consume what amount of energy effectively. And so our underlying model is an eco model. But then you can adapt things and say, actually, people have moved out since, these estimates were made. And so the numbers, you'll see start going down. So as you pull people out of a house, the energy bill that was otherwise going to be is going to be a lot lower. So the savings are therefore a lot lower. But let's just say there's 4 people in this house. Making it, say, a townhouse versus a normal house. So CoreLogic hadn't quite got the house description right. Again, you'll see some of these savings are a little bit less, not a lot, but basically, if you live in a townhouse, your heating demand will be less than it would be if it wasn't a normal house because you've got houses next to you as insulating devices. So there's a few like things like that. Where you're located as well. In New Zealand, if you're in the far north compared to the far south, the heating and cooling demand on homes is different. So all of that's built in. But let's just say we're on gas, this is my house before I did all the changes for heating and gas, heating the hot water and gas for heating the spaces. Say we're on gas cooking as well. Actually, this is what we started off. So it's supposed to be interactive. Like 90 odd percent of people that land on this page play around, build their house, and get on with it, which is cool in terms of user journey. If you put solar on, you'll see the savings do come down quite a bit because solar will save quite a lot of the money. And so let's assume most homes in New Zealand don't have solar. And these are just estimates. So 3,800 a year is an estimate. We publish a good methodology around how we calculate those things. But then the main job of the tool is then to recommend things that we'd say you can do as a home to save money. And so solar panels with a battery, not currently. So the ones that are ticked are the ones that we're suggesting, but there are other ones that people can do. And so you can basically add as many as you want. And as you do add these things, you'll see the sort of financial summary changing. And so for example, let's pick them all. So if you did all these things, our estimates are after 20 years, you'd be about $72,000 better off. That assumes you don't need to borrow money. So year one, you've got to fork out that 28 grand for all of these things. But you start saving money. So you start each year saving money on energy bills. If you add interest and like basically a loan into it as well, you'll see you can change the term of the loan and things. But it's quite cool how almost from the year one, if you borrow the 28 grand from the bank and borrow it over 10 years, even from the very first few years, you're actually better off. The energy bill savings are more than the loan repayment is on an annual basis. So we need to try and get that information out to
Mm.
people. I don't know if that's the case. If you've probably done some things like this in your home, and we've just finished it, and we're seeing these bill savings. Pretty cool. How
Yeah, I
about you?
think I think what you've built's really exciting because it just makes because it's really easy to get lost on the internet at the moment, I
Yes,
think,
yes,
because
for
you
sure.
start researching heat pumps and then you think, oh, maybe I could do solar. But with the great thing I like about your tool is that you can select everything you need,
Yeah,
see what it's going to cost, and
yeah.
then, I'm in my early 50s.
I'm
But
nearly there. I'm nearly there. Only another
but
1 year to go.
when you look ahead and you can see the potential of saving 66,000
Yeah, yeah,
and
exactly.
that's net. So to earn that
Yeah,
before tax,
yeah.
that's for a lot of
That's some
people,
money.
that's a whole year of your work just
Just
to
and
pay
also it's
that cost
more
that's going
resilient.
to whom.
Yeah, exactly. And you're in exactly in that, it's just people are thinking about maybe the first year. So most people go, okay, what's the bill savings? 36 grand, sorry, 3,600 a year. That's quite a bit, but I've got to pay 28 grand. But you can borrow money to do this, and then
Mm,
borrowing money, even if you borrow over 20 years, like you're even better off like with by $1,000 or something dollars quite quickly every year. Obviously, you pay more over the long run because you pay more interest. But anyway, just getting information like this in front of people, and then what we've this is all very new, as in like we're building things, releasing things all the time, but we've just launched a guidebook which people will get. So a personalized guidebook on here's all the things that you've said you've currently got in your home energy wise. Here are the things that you're proposing to do, and lots of information about questions to ask installers and things. We've got a free like message us and chat to us and ask questions about different things service. And then we've got these installers, which I'll come to in a second. But yeah, basically, we really want people to go, look, this looks pretty interesting. I like to find out, more about this. Send me something. This is what we call like becoming a member of COGO, and then we'll over time be able to, it says on this list, keep you updated. Hey, there's, new installers that have signed up near you or whatever it is. And so you join COGO and then get that guidebook sent to you. So I won't show you through that, but there's a nice guidebook that'll be sent to you. And then when you're ready, once you've chatted to people, talked to your partners, talked to your family, we then have a network of installers across New Zealand. So wherever you are in New Zealand, we will recommend there's at least 4 suppliers for every upgrade you want. So lots of great suppliers. So this was a Wellington home. So these are all Wellington or companies that can service the Wellington region. A2W example, or Concept Group, they did my solar panels, or Harrison Solar, you name it. Like we've just got a really great quality group of businesses that you can then go and talk to. Fisher and Paykel just signed up, for example. So you basically just like COGO's by your side. It doesn't just like pass your name and number off to these companies and then wash our hands. We make our money when people finish the installation, and these companies give us a proportion of that money. And so we're highly committed. It's like a business model that's lockstep with our impact as well. So we're not just making money from sending out leads, we're actually making money once the people install. So you put your name and number in here, what time you want to be contacted and things, how you want to hear updates from COGO. And then basically you become sort of a referrer in our system, and we're able to then say, Caroline has been sent to these 8 suppliers, and they have to report to us on exactly what's happening. So as soon as you get your contact from them, we get a notification in our system that says, hey, Caroline has just been contacted by Endless Energy or AAT Group. And we're able to then performance manage these companies to make sure that they're doing things well. They can, once they've come and given you a quote, we'll soon be able to allow you to put those quotes into the platform and analyze them and give you ideas of what to ask them and sort of tips and tricks. But ultimately, these businesses on screen, they know that they're being, I guess, in some way we're supporting them as well, because we're actually helping answer questions that you'd have that maybe save them time and things. So there is a win-win a part of this, but ultimately they will get more recommended if they're performing better. And so over time, as we start collecting data, because it's only new, we'll be able to say, hey, Star Delta in Northland is now hitting like, 2-day report back on every quote. They're closing 50% of all the ones that they end up quoting for, and they'll start lifting up the algorithm to be recommended. At the moment, and more information here if you find out how we choose installers and how we recommend. But that's the long-term game, is to have like the most likely installer to get the job done for you will be the one that gets listed in that sort of first group. At the moment, because we haven't got the data, it is just a random allocation to be transparent and be open. But over time, we'll be able to use the data that we collect. So yeah, that's how it all works. And we've got the same thing for a car. So we basically, instead of adding your address, you add your license plate, and we do exactly the same thing. Recommend things that you can do, types of cars to go for. So yeah, that's the platform, and coming to you soon through a lot of different ways. Your banks and energy companies will tell you about it. If you haven't already heard about it, there's 50,000 New Zealanders that have already jumped on through ASB and Genesis.
Yeah.
But we're now looking to work with like the Electrify community groups with rewiring. A lot of them are promoting it at the moment. Individuals, people like yourself, Carolyn, and others, Rod Carr and Izzy and Fenwick, and a whole bunch of people are going to start promoting their own version of this platform to promote to their networks. And it's really like let's let's all, figure out how do we get this in front of as many people as possible in many
Mm.
times of different channels and be able to report back on the impact we're having as a platform, but ultimately as a community.
It feels like quite an exciting time in some ways. I know it's it's
Yes.
got a lot of
The
there's a lot
timing's
of
good. The
a
timing's
lot of
good. Yeah,
challenges, but
yeah, yeah.
I just feel like the transformation that we need to go through has there's the cost and the payback, all the things that weren't there 10, 20 years ago are there now, and
They're there now. Yep,
it just
yep.
makes such financial sense to be making these changes, and so to have a tool that helps you
Makes it easy.
navigate
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
those changes to help stop you from getting overwhelmed with decision making, I think is really powerful.
Yeah, we
I'd
hope
really
so.
love to, you've just been through your own
Journey.
electrification journey. I'd love to hear about what you're doing.
Sure thing.
I'm
Yeah,
on the path to getting rid of my
on the
gas,
path. All good.
but you
Well, you've
have
got a
done
good tool
it.
now.
So
You can
love to
get
hear
your
what
own.
you've done.
Yeah. About 3 years ago, we had, or maybe a bit less now, we had a sort of heating system on the roof that was starting to go a little bit dodge, or at least come up for a maintenance. I can't remember the specifics, but it was definitely we should think about it. So we did a lot of mulling around and um, you know, tried to work out what to do. And so Genesis had got on board. I'm not sure if it was quite um, the timing of it, but in short, we were like, we need to find some installers to find ways of. We almost thought about replacing it like for like, not like that was because the first person that came up was like, oh, you've got a gas heating system, just, they've got more efficient gas heating systems now, just like swap it out. But it was like one of those ones that like blew air. And long story short, we'd lived in the UK for a while. I was born there and stuff, and we quite like radiators. So my partner was like, maybe we should figure out a way of getting radiators. And long story short, we ended up getting a heat pump that did all of our radiators. So radiators are here and around the house. And also did our hot water. So we bought a 10 kilowatt heat pump. It sits outside the kitchen, and it basically, yeah, heats the home, heats the hot water all through one single heat pump. And that's probably the first sort of move on the gas front. We then were like, we've only got a gas cooker left, and I always like cooking on gas. I'm a keen cook, but we're like, well, let's try induction. And so we did an induction cooker, and it's just way better. Like, it's just way better than gas. I don't know. It's funny now, I just don't even miss it. I even think, why did I, even use gas? It's like stinky, it gets all messy, it's hard to clean. You name it, it's got a whole bunch of issues. You worry, you drive away going, shit, did I leave the gas on? Like, that whole thing. Like, it's just so many reasons, not just because of the cost and carbon, but they're expensive induction cookers. But anyway, they're just awesome. So we did all that, and then so we were left with no gas, only electricity, apart from our plug-in hybrid that probably was only doing about 30 k's on battery and the rest of it petrol. So we were mostly driving petrol when we drove, distance. So there was still quite a lot of carbon in our car. And the roof still didn't have solar on because we were going to paint it and get some skylight put in. So we finally did the skylight and painted it. And so then about 6 months or so ago, maybe more now, we were like, right, let's do the solar thing. Let's do this electric car thing. And we did. And obviously we feel pretty happy about it now because we are charging off the roof. So you look at the solar panel itself. I mean, solar panels are cheaper now and more efficient, as you said. So there's definitely a great sort of ROI in them for most homes. But when you have an electric car, it really sort of becomes stark. Just as an example, our solar panels, we reckon over the 25 years, we'll probably have to buy another inverter, but we'll have to roughly, 25 years of life. Um, they'll generate a certain amount of electricity that roughly equates to over the life, we'll be paying around 3 cents, 3.5 cents a kilowatt hour. And so people that, I don't know, people that think about electricity pricing, it's about 10 times cheaper than it is to buy electricity at the moment. And we get that price for the full 25 years. So it's sort of just that number to know that you're generating electricity off the roof, costing you around 3.5 cents. and you currently charge 30. I bet you in 20 years' time, imagine turning up to Meridian and saying, hey, can you give me 3.5 cents kilowatt hour electricity like now? They'll be like, you're crazy. And like, oh no, actually, no, I need it for the next 25 years at that price too. So that's what we get. We then plug the car into it. So the car only runs now, only charges once the sun's given enough to the house, the residual. So right now, it'll be starting to charge. We don't drive to work, so it sits there most days. And so then you work out it costs less than just under $5 to charge the entire car at that kilowatt hour rate. And so we're driving around, it's like less than $1 to do about 100 Ks. And so when you compare that, obviously you've got road user charges, and so you do have to add that. But literally, it's $8. If you look at a petrol equivalent, it's about 30. And so we're talking like three and a half, 4 times cheaper to run that electric car. And then you look at the numbers of petrol you spend, and the solar panels will be paid back by simply having less energy use in petrol terms in about 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that payback of, I don't know what, years ago I did one, and I think it was going to take me 10 or 12 years for the system that I was costing, so I didn't end up doing it. But when you're getting as little as 5 now.
5, and that's partly because of the electric car. But I'd say, yeah, it is just a no-brainer. But like, if it pays back in 5, then I've got 20 more years of free electricity off the roof. So just that even makes yeah, it's just
Yeah.
a no-brainer. Yeah.
I was talking to Star Delta the other day, and they're talking about, you know, it's the best retirement prepping thing that you can do in
Yeah,
terms
it's
of
like exactly
reducing your costs going forward.
in 5 years you turn that into net, like you're in net positive position, and then you've got either the solar panel as an asset to sell with the house,
Yeah,
or those lower bills for the next 20 years, right? It's just yeah, it's a economically rational thing to do for sure.
yeah. So, what's the thing that's most exciting you at the moment?
I'd say it's the awareness that is growing around um, New Zealand, like being able to sort of make its own energy future rather than relying on international suppliers. I think that's probably the thing that I'm suddenly like, that's another good reason. Like, obviously it's cheaper and obviously the climate wins, but those things themselves will motivate a certain and probably quite a big portion. But this idea that we can make New Zealand own power and we can be independent and, resilient for whatever other things. I think that's exciting because I just can see so many rural communities into there. I can see people that, aren't necessarily cost driven. So even the sort of higher economic sort of they want their security, right? And so I just think that it sort of opens up a whole new group of people. So that's the one thing that excites me right now, as in sort of the current last few weeks, it has sort of been a bit of an eye opener. I mean, the storms have definitely driven people to think about resilience. I
Yeah,
think more
yeah,
than half of the batteries, so solar systems that are going in the East Coast and Northland have got batteries now and things. So there
yeah.
is, so yeah, that excites me. I mean, I'm excited about what we're doing in terms of giving people who want to see change happen in the world a platform to promote and to build a community around. And I like the idea of individuals being a driving force for change, because I think, you know, you're going to be motivated if you hear stuff in the news or from your companies you buy from. But if it's someone you trust and know who's telling you and they're giving you a tool to make it happen, I don't know. I just wonder how much of a catalyst and a sort of how much that can really be a growth for the business. I'm
Mm,
hoping anyway.
yeah.
That
Nothing like your neighbors getting solar to help.
There we go. And this is
Yeah.
yeah, which is this
Too.
idea of electro influencers sort of idea is just to be like, exactly. It's like your friendly, trusted neighbor or friend, telling you that this is something to do. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, I don't know, just after banging on sort of climate as a sort of goal for so long now, I sort of feel like this latest shift is aligning a climate outcome with as I said, a whole bunch of other reasons. So
Mm,
ultimately, I'm hopeful that we can use our tool as a way of bringing down emissions in New Zealand. That means that governments aren't going to renege on Paris commitments and things like that. So
yeah,
ultimately, I really worry that if New Zealand starts moving away from a Paris type thing, it's the sort of the end really, because I don't think other countries are going to then do it, and then we sort of break down global efforts on stuff like climate, and that to me is like not a good thing. So I'm sort of excited that
mm,
the electrification of homes and cars can be a significant driver of emission reductions, and that would set New Zealand up for Paris, which we are currently a little bit ropey on.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah,
Thank you so much,
no worries.
Ben, for telling us all about COGO and your own journey, because I think that
Yeah,
makes it real when you can
no, all
hear
good.
you've been through it too.
No
What
problem.
is the best place for people to go to? I'll share my link, but
Yeah, yeah.
do they just
Just
go to
COGO.
COGO,
Yeah, there's a website, COGO,
COGO.co?
COGO.co, and you can yeah, find me on LinkedIn if you've got questions or want to help, promote it to other people that you know. But yeah, website or LinkedIn's a good place to go. Or yeah, jump on Caroline's version and I'm sure you'll be documenting your story and using the platform to help make it easy.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
No
Ben.
worries. Thanks,
Amazing. I
Caroline.
really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
cheers. Cool.